BeYouTooFull. Welcome to the Beautiful Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Leonardo. Join me as we explore presence and self-care and how it leads to an empowered life. Hello world. My name is Tiffany Leonardo, and I am really looking forward to sharing our community with the beautiful Kayla Countryman.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and in person.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much.
Right? The timing worked out so beautifully.
It really did.
Oh, so the rest of the world. Kayla and I have met a while ago on Instagram.
Yes.
We've been
Instagram friends for a while.
That's right. And then we got to meet in person in this past December.
Yes.
Yeah. And then since then, this is the first time we're meeting in person again. Yes. But we've had such an amazing opportunity to work with each other over the past several months. She has been my behind the scenes gal for just everything in streamlining my back-end systems and just ensuring that my messaging is supporting me with aligning my messaging so that I'm reaching my people.
Yes.
So Kayla, so happy to have you. Would love for you to just share about yourself with our community here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. And I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but you are genuinely one of my favorite people to work with because we are just like here.
We are.
Like,
oh my gosh,
girl. We always are, from like our look to our energy to everything.
Yeah.
So just like been such a dream to work with you. And I remember when we were just Instagram besties, I would just look at you and be like, oh, I just love her. Like I just want her energy around me. So the fact that we're here today recording in person, like it's just an absolute dream. So yes, my name is Kayla Countryman. I am a multi-passionate. I've just been leaning into the multi-passionate creative era and not necessarily going into one title, but all of the things that I am. So I'm a business coach. I'm a mentor to women of color. I am a yoga instructor. I am a creator. I am all of these titles. And I'm also on a journey to figuring out a little bit of what's next for me within all of those things.
I love that.
I've been running my own business for 2 years now, a little over 2 years, starting with social media management, flowing then into social media coaching, which led me to mentorship, into the various programs that I run now. And along the way, I have really gotten back in touch with wellness as well, gotten back in touch with my mental health journey, gotten back in touch with self-care practices that help ground me and help me arrive to show up as the best entrepreneur that I can be. So that is a very long-winded way to say that I do a lot of different things, but I'm just so happy to be here talking with you about ways that we stay centered and stay grounded and stay connected as business owners, because it's a journey.
It really is, girl.
Yes.
And I feel like you just have such a unique approach to business. Like I feel like one of the post that you put out that I was like, I really like this girl before we started working together was like, hey, for your social media content, most people are going to say 5 posts a week, like have this aggressive kind of timeline for us and as creators. And it's like, we're creative.
Yes.
And I really loved your approach of like, how do you feel? Some weeks it'll look like this. Some other weeks you'll be feeling like that. And so just really gauge it according to how you're feeling. And I was like, I love her approach. Like, I feel like you're honestly so well rooted in like the divine feminine.
Yes.
And nurturing ourselves as well as honoring the masculine and getting things done too. But it's just such a beautiful blend of work and life. And I feel like you've so beautifully meshed the two worlds in your business.
Yeah, I'm really big on intention meets strategy, right? So it's this beautiful space of being intentional, listening to what your body needs, honoring your mindset and where you are that day or that week, but then also having some strategy that on those days when you're like, oh, I really don't know what to post, you have some things to go back to because you are still strategic and you do still have that foundation, but you're not so in the masculine that every single day and second is completely planned out. And if you get off track, because that's what I was noticing was happening with my clients who would come to me after working with these like more traditional, I would say, business coaches, social media coaches, and they've been told not only post 7 days a week, but like post 3 times a day.
Oh, God.
Who has the energy to do that?
That's overwhelming.
3
Like
times
even
a
just saying that,
I'm like, oh, all of these content pillars and this like really structured calendar, and they come to me burnt out as their last resource of, I don't know what to do. I'm really overwhelmed. And I'm like, look, girl, we start slow. We're going to start 2 days a week. What feels good for you this week? What type of content makes you feel like you are where you're supposed to be? What really lights you up when you talk about it? Let's go there. Let's start there. Ditch the pillars for a moment. Throw the calendar away. And let's just get back to really what feels good for you. And I think that in the marketing space, there's not a lot of that.
No.
And everything is so like, do this, algorithm. I couldn't care less about that algorithm. And I think that's what really makes my clients feel safe and feel seen in my world is I don't care what the head of Instagram told you to do this week. I care where you're at, what you're offering, and how you can connect with your audience on a real level.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It really is. And I love that what you said is like, how do you feel? You know, it's just this softer approach that invites us to be more connected with our feelings. Whereas sometimes these other approaches, it's more based on the doing and less about the being.
Absolutely.
And I do feel like it's not this or that. It's a conversation of like this and that.
Yes.
And that's what I really love. It's like you being yourself, you realizing, you know what? This isn't working for me. Me being so focused on the doing is just not my flavor. So I'm going to create my own sabor, right? Like your own path. And I feel like you truly are the essence of being yourself and how you've cultivated that in the work that you're doing now, you know?
Absolutely. I think it's just so needed, and I love talking about how my clients feel, right? Like I've worked with so many business coaches in the past, and I'm guilty of picking business coaches based on they look like they're making a lot of money. I want to make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
We all get into a place in our business where we do that. Now I'm at a place where like, I don't care about that. I want to vibe and have the same energy and feel very seen. And the second I was able to make that shift, your results also shift, right? You're able to actually run a business that feels really good to you.
Exactly.
So that's what I hope to do for my clients as well is how do you feel? We get on client calls, you know, right? You get on client calls with me and I'm like, okay, but how does that actually feel? Do you want to do that? I've had clients come to me and say things like, oh, someone in my DMs told me they want me to make this specific offer. So this is what I'm going to do. And I say, okay, pause. Do you want to do that? And they take a moment and they're like, I hadn't thought about that. So we're so conditioned to look at outside sources, look for that external validation, especially with social media. What is everyone else doing? How much money is that person making? What strategy are they using? What offers are they creating? And we completely lose sight of what we actually want in our own business. And so I'm just grateful that I have an opportunity to fill that gap for people because I've been in it, right? Everything that I teach is from experience, and I always tell my clients like I've been through it so that you don't have to, right? Like I've been through the trenches, and we all will have to go through the trenches, but I hope that my experience and lessons can at least lessen the hit for you.
And it definitely has, girl.
I'm so glad.
I can attest to that for sure. There are so many ways in which even like you're talking about content creation, right? Like I was feeling like I was burning out from that. And I hadn't realized until I had more support. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize the pressure. And like I felt like my chest just felt heavy. I felt suffocated. And with so many people pursuing their own businesses now, I think it's so important to have gals like you just inviting us to lean more into our femininity, to feel And especially because we're wearing all the hats, we want to do all the things.
Exactly.
We can do that and also take a beat, like just take a step to slow down.
Yeah, and I think I speak that language as well, right? Even just how I introduced myself, I was like, I'm multi-passionate. I don't know. Here's my titles, right? And I attract that as well. Humans like you who are just like one-stop shop for like all things wellness, right?
Yeah.
Like so many of my clients, they don't just introduce themselves as one label. It's I do this and I offer this and here's what I'm here for. And it's so important to me that I help my clients find a way to show all parts of themselves while also being strategic, right? You can be multi-passionate. You can be multi-hyphenated. You don't have to niche down so specific that you're just in this little tiny box that you want to break out of. Yeah. That's never the goal. It's how do we do this and show all parts of you in a way that really makes sense and resonates with your audience and resonates with your future clients that are going to come to your door, as you have seen, right?
Yeah. So. And also too, and I feel like you in some ways too, you are so niched in ways that like you're aligning, right? You work with women of color. Yes. You work with women, right? And I feel like so many of your businesses, at least from like being in the group and then now moving on to one-on-one coaching with you, have been like wellness oriented, right? Like you're attracting, right?
And that's what it is, right? When you are aligned in what you do, this is like the whole basis of my program, Aligned to Attract Academy.
So beautifully.
When you're aligned in what you do and who you serve and your why and what you want to do on this earth, you're able to attract what's meant for you. Yes. I never once went into this and said, I want to work with specifically women of color in wellness. I said women of color business owners, absolutely. That's always been my niche. But over the past year, over 80% of my clients have been in the wellness space. And that's just the universe sending these wonderful human beings to me. Yeah. And also knowing that like that's the niche that I'm so interested in, right? And that's what I want to provide to my clients. So I'm getting these wonderful people just like you, yoga instructors, sound healers, a lot of coaches who are in that wellness space, health coaches, like even some in the fitness space. So it's just worked naturally, but I truly believe that when you get grounded in what you want to do and what you want to offer and who you want to impact, the universe has its way of sending you exactly what's meant for you.
Exactly. And it's like what you do in one regard, you do in other regards, right? Like how we show up in our business, having that clarity, that intention supports us in showing up in that way in our relationships, our friendships, our work life. Like I feel like that is so key, because sometimes we feel like, oh, I can compartmentalize. At work, I'm this way. And then when it comes to family, I'm this way. And it's like, no, like, how can we bring intention into everything we're doing?
Everything. And that's why we start our own businesses, right? That's why, like, I come from the corporate world. You come from healthcare. Like, we've both been in those spaces where we have had to compartmentalize and say, this is work and this is family and this is personal and social. But then we build these businesses and now we get to attract what we want in all ways, and we get to show up as we want in all ways and be who we are in all ways. We don't have to censor ourselves. We don't have to wear our hair a certain way when we go into our office, right? So I just really think that part of starting a business is freeing ourselves from having to compartmentalize and really giving us the blessing of showing up authentically just in life, period.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I even forgot about that. I feel like because I'm so used to separating the two, and that's just like kind of like ingrained in a lot of ways. I didn't realize that how different that is from us owning our own business.
It is.
Not having to like draw that line in the sand.
Yeah, it really is. And I just think about it. I really do think of it as freedom, especially for Black women. And that was part of the reason, kind of getting a little off track, but it fits in here. That's part of the reason I started my business in the first place, was I was working in corporate America and I was working in marketing with all of these large, very wealthy brands, big businesses, and they were all owned by wealthy white men. And I was like, this isn't vibing with me. Like, they have these multi-million-dollar ad budgets that they are spending on like Facebook, while all of these small businesses, Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses are just left in the dust with very little marketing support, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the moment I started my business, was to do what I was doing for these large corporate brands for small businesses, for women-owned businesses. And I really do see it as helping Black women grow their businesses and become more financially free and have schedules where they can spend more time with their family is truly an act of freedom and reclaiming their own lives and our own lives as well on the other side of it.
Girl, when I was on your module of like CEO scheduling,
yes,
and I was like, this is stuff that like I've kind of been doing, but I haven't really committed to, like blocking time off. Like, can you talk more about that?
Yes, of course.
You have a whole module on it.
I have a whole video on this. I just think it is so important that as entrepreneurs, when we look at our schedule Monday through Friday, it's usually just open, right? We have maybe events and meetings, but we just have like a Monday through Friday. There's no boss telling you on this day you do this. There's no team that's telling you this is our team meeting day. Yeah. It's just you. And so for me in my business, when I started, I felt so unsettled because I was like, I don't know what to, like, I just had this running to-do list that I would just work on day after day after day. And it felt like I was never catching up.
Yeah.
So the idea of the CEO schedule is to time block your week based on tasks, based on priorities, based on where your mind needs to be that day. So one of my biggest recommendations in that CEO schedule is giving yourself at least one day where you're only working on your business, right? So for me at this point, I have 2 days of that. I have Mondays and Fridays are my admin days or my CEO days where I just work in my business. I can plan my content, look at finances, game plan on some offer development. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my client support days. So that's when I take my client meetings. That's when I'm working on client projects. That's when I'm maybe adding more modules into the programs that already exist.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're actually helping your brain, one, focus. It helps increase your productivity because now your mind knows, okay, it's Monday. I don't have any meetings today. I'm going to focus in here.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday. I need to be ready and willing to support my clients today and tackle these projects. And so it's just really a way of helping yourself focus. I know a lot of us as entrepreneurs struggle with this decision fatigue, right? Where it's like there's so many choices to be made and it can be exhausting. Yeah. So it's also a way to limit that, to really help your brain settle. You know what to expect each day. We know every day looks different in entrepreneurship already. So how can we simplify? How can we make it feel less chaotic just by centering into giving each day a purpose? And that's why I've started creating the CEO schedule.
Girl, so good.
So and needed.
It's so needed. Yeah, because you don't realize, you're like, oh, I have all these requests. Like you mentioned the gal, it's like, oh, someone in my DMs asked me about this. It's like, all right, so I'm going to pump that out. And it's constantly on this rabbit wheel of doing all the things.
And then how many days do you work an entire day and you're like, I don't know what I did today.
Exactly.
Or I feel like I didn't do enough.
Yeah.
Because that single running to-do list never ends. You will never complete it if you don't give yourself space to say, okay, today, here's the 3 things I'm going to work on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my goal is to complete these client projects. Check, check, check. And now you can actually move forward. Yeah. Right? It's not, you're not on the hamster wheel anymore of that one long list.
Exactly. That. And I feel like in all the, one, I love that you have the training modules, all of those videos, as well as like the in-person, because then I can consume when we're not working together directly, I can consume it on my own. And I feel like autonomy and having resources for myself is so essential. Yes. That's just how I move. And that's how, like when I'm teaching class, I always tell people my classes are a little workshop because I want you to be able to use these tools when you're home, you're laying on the couch. These are things that you can do while you're watching TV.
Absolutely.
And so I love that you do that.
Thank you.
I love too, I feel like constantly there's this theme of like within all the videos of setting boundaries and outlining expectations and all of those things that can easily wear you thin when you're already wearing all the hats and then you didn't establish kind of guardrails for somebody before working with them.
Yes, so many things to touch on there with boundaries. I'm like, my head is like ding, ding, ding. Oh my gosh, because that was probably my biggest downfall my first year in business. I had 0. I had zero. Like, I was giving my phone number out to my social media management clients like it was candy. Like, I was working weekends. I had no hours.
Yeah.
I was going to, just doing way too much. And I burned out so fast. And so for me, especially because I work with a lot of newer entrepreneurs or a lot of entrepreneurs who are in that spot of leveling up, right? Taking on that whatever is coming next for them.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have those boundaries in place from the jump. I know I wish I had. And so with my clients, even me creating those videos in the portal, helping people get reminded, like, okay, in your contract, what are your boundaries? On those client meetings, what are your boundaries? On social media, what are your boundaries? Do you have boundaries not just with other people, but with yourself? And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. It's always with the clients. Yeah. But what about you? Like, what's your social media usage looking like? How much time are you spending scrolling on Instagram for hours and hours and hours? When do you log out? When is your break? So things like that as well also fall into that boundaries conversation. Goodness, we could talk about it forever, but
girl,
it's just so important.
Yeah. And it's that reminder of what we do in one regard, we get to do in other regards as well. And so reinforcing that, like even right now, like being on kind of a break from social media for a week.
Yes.
You know, like all these ways where it's like, it doesn't have to be like a hard ass, like, no, like it's just giving ourselves boundaries as well as establishing those guardrails for the people that we work with.
And creating systems, right? You mentioned systems at the beginning where it's like, for me, my social media break is now ingrained into just my life as a business owner. Like, I take the last week of every quarter, I'm logged out. When it comes up, I log out. I let my community know, this is where I'm at. This is how you can contact me. It doesn't mean I'm not working. You can email me. I'm very much here, right?
Yes.
But I am not consuming. I'm spending time with my own brain and my own thoughts and my own self so that I can grow and be ready for what the next season brings.
Yeah.
So even things like that, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm just randomly going to log out right now. Oh, and now you feel chaotic and now you feel like you shouldn't be logged out and you're feeling guilty. Like when you use boundaries with systems, you won't feel so guilty about it.
Exactly.
When your contract is crystal clear from the moment the client signs, you're not going to feel bad when they text you at midnight and you don't respond because that's okay. It was communicated as part of your system.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of people hear boundaries and they think like, I don't want to like tell my clients no and yell and like, first of all, I don't know who's yelling, but a lot of people feel aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you just have these systems in place, boundaries actually become very simple.
Yeah. And most people don't know it's a boundary until it's articulated. And so that's taken care of on the front end. You don't have to have that weird conversation, you know, or it gets to be this reminder of like, this was outlined in XYZ.
Totally.
You know, so that people are, it doesn't become like out of nowhere. Like you're just kind of hitting them with this curveball.
Totally. And this goes back to you attract what you need in that moment, right? If you are someone that has very clear boundaries up front, you're going to attract people that respect the heck out of those boundaries.
Yeah, that's very true.
All of my clients, like I think you've even done this before. If you message me at like 6 o'clock, you're like, don't worry about getting back to this. Like that is so typical for my clients. And I think it's the cutest thing ever, right? Whereas when I had no boundaries, I had clients that were like, hey, I need this in an hour. Hey, I need you to get this. And they were just walking all over me.
Yeah.
But that was on me because I didn't set the foundation.
Exactly.
So you are going to attract what you have in place. Yep. If you have those systems in place, you are going to attract people that respect the systems in place.
Yeah. I love that. That. And I feel like it establishes us to have accountability of this is what I'm experiencing. And also for the next time, here's an opportunity for me to kind of lay these ground rules out on the front end. And even like you're talking about the boundaries for ourselves, I noticed that if I have a packed day, like the social media for me just has to be like
it's gone.
Pretty much non-existent because I feel way more fatigued and overwhelmed with that day when I'm consuming.
Yes.
And my mind is like, even if it's just mindlessly, I realize I've just recently started doing this where I'll just lay outside, like on the ground.
Yeah.
Just like, just give me some
do
sun.
That too.
I'm like, okay, that, or like, you know what, time to spend one-on-one with the dogs.
Yes.
Or just take them for a longer walk around the area. I've noticed that is so much more nourishing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm able to be even more present with all those things that I have scheduled for that day.
It's scary how much time we spend looking down at our phones. It really is. And sometimes I really catch myself and I'm like, oh, I feel not good about this.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about how much time I just spent scrolling. And I'm even someone, like, I have all the screen time limits and all the, like, no social media after 9 or before 8. Like, I have all that in place, but that doesn't stop me, you know, in between meetings, I'm looking, or on a walk, I'm looking. So that's where I've really had to focus and get more disciplined. And that's what the social media breaks really helped me with, because just seeing in these last few days, like, how much time I've had for these other tasks. Like, I applied to a couple grants because I'm like, I have some extra time here, right? I've been spending more time with my family. I've been more productive in shorter amounts of time, so my work days have been shorter. That to me is such a big win. If I can work for 4 hours completely focused instead of 6 or 7 with like 30-minute scroll breaks woven in there, I feel better. So it's all looking at what is your relationship with social media and how is it impacting your day-to-day? Because for a lot of us, it is negative as far as the habits and just looking down, period. Our posture, our eyes, like, you're the healthcare one, not me. But that's a different conversation, but it really is just scary to think about.
It is. And I love how you've integrated well-being and wellness into your business. It's not separate.
It's not separate.
It's a conversation of and. And can you share more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just really found that in my own entrepreneurial journey, my mental health has taken a hit. There have just been really hard moments. And when I started my business, I was 24 when I started my business. And 24-year-old Kayla was naive and just joy-filled bundle. We love her. She was great. I'm so grateful for her. At the same time, she had no idea what was coming, right? Over these past now 2.5, almost 3 years, I've really learned to listen to my body. And that is where wellness has come in at its greatest, is really learning how to follow what my body needs. This goes with cycle syncing, practicing movement, my morning routine, like all of these things, even my Manifest House membership, getting to take classes with you. Being able to say my body needs to be nourished and taken care of for me to show up as the best business owner I can be. Because a lot of us, again, we get into entrepreneurship and we grind. There's no 9 to 5. There's no boss. You're just going. You're going. And we're on this hamster wheel and we burn out. It's happened to all of us. And so for me, getting back into wellness has almost been a treat because it has helped me show up better in my business. And I've also learned now that it's a non-negotiable for me, and something that I wish to share with my clients. So that's why I have taken this pivot, right? I'm not just a business coach anymore. You're not going to come to me and we're just going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about your feelings. We're going to talk about your morning routine. We're going to talk about your movement and your screen time, because all of those directly impact how you show up in your business as an entrepreneur. And after many, many times of breakdowns and feeling like, you know, this is the end of the road for me in business because my mental health got to those places that was not supportive of where I needed to be. Wellness for me has just been the answer. And it's something that's not talked about a lot in the business space. It's always, how much money can you make? What offers do you have? What are your services? Like, it is just constant. No one is asking you, how are you listening to your body today? Have you drinking enough water? It hits different. It hits different. Are you happy? That's one that I sit with a lot. Like, do I feel happy when I wake up and think about my business? And if I feel out of alignment in any way, I need to take a break and I need to go for a walk, like you said. Practice yoga. Take the week off social media. Really nourish my wellness practices so that I can show up. the best that I can.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like everything that you touched on are the things that Instagram doesn't show you about entrepreneurship.
No.
Right? Like all of these things. It's like, yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, now that you can work endless hours,
Yeah.
all times of the night,
Yeah.
you can work however many days straight that you want to.
Yes.
Now you have all of those choices, and we can also choose to take breaks and create structure and routines for us. And honestly, that's why businesses thrive because of structure and routine.
Structure and routine.
Yeah.
And I also think like there is this space where if you don't listen to what your body needs, you get not only burnt out, but now you're not in a mental space to honor what you want for yourself in your business. There is a true disconnect for me. The times that I have been burnt out, the times that I have felt like I was just chasing that financial gain, where I then lost complete sight of what I really wanted in my business. So I also see this beautiful connection between your well-being in business and your why. When you feel good, when you are practicing your routines and rituals and you're in that structure and you are thriving, you are way more connected to your inner self.
Yeah.
And that connection is what helps you decide who you want to serve, what you want to offer, how you want to show up in this space. So there is also that connection, and having that, that just on a hamster wheel schedule of never ending things. Like people think, oh, I start my business to work anywhere. I start my business to create my own schedule. I start my business to travel the world. And like people are taking pictures in France and they have like their wine and it's like, cause I'm a business owner. Like that is so, it's realistic, but it's also not the majority. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like a lot of us are trying to figure out our schedules, working overtime, so much decision fatigue, trying to figure out what's next. And that takes you away from yourself.
It does.
It really does. And so for me, bringing well-being and wellness into my marketing business is now a non-negotiable because it really helps my clients connect to themselves so that they can grow a business that feels good.
Yeah, and what I love about all of this is that you are in practice of it. Yes. And so you're able to speak from it and connect with it from a place that it's not like a script. It's not like everyone says you should drink lots of water, so you should drink lots of water. Like it's like no, this is an embodiment.
Yeah, and for a long time I was in a space like even these last few months where I was kind of like, probably won't go on any podcasts. I probably should wait to do any interviews until I really know what I'm doing. Until I feel like I've made it, quote unquote, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
But how beautiful is it to be in the journey, in the middle,
girl,
and sharing, right? There's so much power in being in the thick of it and speaking on it because so many people wait until they get to the destination and then it's not as relatable, right? I want to be that coach that's sharing from the middle. I want to be that mentor that's able to help my clients because I've recently overcome these challenges and because I'm vulnerable enough to share with them girl, that was just me. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm never talking down to my clients. I'm always talking to them. I'm like, I'm here with you. Let's talk about it. Let's hash it out.
Exactly.
Because I'm in it as well. And I think I was ashamed of that for so long. And that's just social media showing you, you know, all of the numbers and all of the things. But there's just so much power in sharing from the middle.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. There is. And I feel like one of the things that I was like, I want to work with you, it was that one of the probably main deciding factors too was that you are in your business and also too that you're so fresh into your journey. That was really key for me because I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, after doing this for 10 years and so on, 5 years and so on, then they start kind of supporting people and mentoring them. And I'm like, but what about like COVID was a whole thing. Totally. And so us marketing during that time is quite the shift. Yep. And coming out of COVID is another whole thing where people are, like you're saying, decision fatigue. And we all realize, at least for myself, that I get fatigued very easily now compared to before where I was constantly on the go.
Absolutely.
And so I loved the fact that you were newer in your business, and so you can give me like the real deal.
Yes.
How can I relate to you? Like, I'm thinking of this in Spanish. It's like hoy en día, like nowadays. Like, how can I relate to what you're going through nowadays? Not what someone did 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago.
And that's key for marketing as well, because the space is constantly shifting.
It is.
So if you're learning from someone that started an online business 10 years ago, girl,
that's a way different. Yeah.
That was 2013. Instagram was barely born.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
Exactly.
So I think there is also, when you're in this space and we're learning how to market ourselves, messaging, I feel like, is now a hot topic, and something that I'm super passionate about is helping my clients with their messaging. And it's important to learn from people who are like also on the times.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes, you are.
I'm going to try everything before I teach my clients, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be my own guinea pig. I'm going to try all the things.
Yep.
I'm going to watch all the videos and read all the newsletters and make sure that I am up to par so that my clients are getting the newest information.
I love that.
Always.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, I started in 2020 mid-pandemic, right? I saw that. I saw the shift of what happened before COVID. I'm seeing the shift after COVID, especially clients like you who do in-person events, right? Mm-hmm. We're now seeing the shift of everyone's back outside.
Yeah.
So how does that affect your systems and your back end and your inquiry process? Mm-hmm. There's just
and my energy.
Your energy. Oh, girl. The energy. So it's like, yes, I love that you bring that up, because it is so important to me that as someone who is newer in the space, I'm able to stay on top of things for my girls. Like, I'm bringing you with me. You're coming along.
I loved that. I love that. And I felt like even just consuming your content on social media, I learned so much from that, and I felt so connected with you, and I was like, I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to be able to connect with people, because when I think of my values, accessibility is a huge part of that. And I know, like, outside of these spaces like LA, how can we make meditation more accessible, mindful living more accessible, not just this, okay, I went to yoga and check, but like how do we make these tools a lifestyle?
Especially as Black women. Yeah. Like, I could talk for days about accessibility in communities of color, right? Yeah. Because wellness has become such a predominantly white topic nowadays, and it means so many different things. Yeah. But Black women of color are still consistently left out of the space. And so for us in the communities that we're serving, so important that we are accessible. And I am in wellness, but I'm also, of course, in marketing. And for me, same thing with all of my offers. It's important that I have the free masterclasses for people to attend, the $30 PDFs for people to download, the lower cost coaching calls, and then my higher level programs for when people are truly ready. Yeah. Because I'm with you, making things accessible to especially communities of color. Yeah. It's a non-negotiable, and it really makes me sad to see and to think about women of color who feel like they cannot participate in the space because they don't feel seen, because they don't feel heard, or because they don't have the resources to attend the $6,000 retreat in Bali, and that's all that is showing up on their feed. Exactly. Right? So people like you and I are so necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good, love. So good. I feel like it's like exactly what you said, like the work that we're doing is necessary, and showing people that there's other ways of leading life, whether from a wellness perspective, whether as an entrepreneur, there's these other things that we can take on to broaden our perspective, so that we can find our lane and like what works for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so many women of color, let me back it up. So many people think there's only one way of doing things. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They see, okay, if I'm going to have a business, it has to go this way. If I'm going to be a coach, I have to do it this way. If I'm going to be a yoga instructor, I have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. But how beautiful is it to be a trailblazer in a way where we are creating these different opportunities for people to look at the possibilities that there are. Amen. Right? Like, I feel like you are a perfect example of that. You do workplace wellness, you do private sessions, you do sound healing, you do yoga, you do meditation, you do workshops. Like, what a beautiful, like, collection of offerings, right? Where people don't even realize what is possible for them as a business owner. You can come into the wellness space and pick all of these different modalities.
Yeah.
You can start an online business and just offer one thing. You can start an online business and offer 30 things.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can, there's a way to do so many different things, but people only see what they see online.
Yes.
They only see, and they only see the people that are in that top 1%, the best of the best, making however much money, and think, if I'm not doing it that way, then what I do is less important.
Girl.
And there is this whole space that exists for people to come in and be creative and create new paths and do different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there are so many things that came up just as you were talking right now. Like I was thinking about something that you've mentioned in the past where you have clients that are still in their full-time job and pursuing this
Absolutely
at the same time. And so what does that look like? Because Instagram doesn't really showcase that, right? Like I feel like we don't have too many examples of how do we juggle doing all of those things, because you're doing two whole jobs. A
lot of my clients, and the theme that I noticed is my clients who are in 9-to-5s that also have a business on the side feel ashamed to talk about the 9-to-5. And I'm like, girl, stability is so sexy.
Girl.
Right?
Yes.
It is so sexy. And how amazing are you for being able to balance that, but also create your own path?
Exactly. I love that you said that, because so many people feel like they just got to jump and like go all in. And I tell people too, I'm like, that's your investor.
Yeah.
Your full-time job, that's your investor for your side business.
Yes.
That is how you are able to do the Amazon purchases here and there, and like prep for your pop-up and do all those things. Like just shifting our perspective. And I feel like you do that so beautifully.
Yeah.
You support us in shifting our perspective. Like I know like the summer months for me are slower when it comes to workplace wellness. And you were like, so why don't you use this as an opportunity for content creation? Hence why we're recording. Like, like I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Instead of me having anxiety about these slower months, and because that's not serving me, that's not effective for where I want to go, I can use this downtime to create content. And I love the podcast. Like this is how I've broadened my perspective of being a Latina from the Bronx to really learning from others and seeing my life can be so much more expansive. And I feel like that's what podcasts have done for me. Like I've been outside, like it's allowed me to step outside of the block, so to speak,
100%,
and see and hear how other people are living and supporting me and like expanding my way of thinking, which still like Matrix always reminds me like there are various things that we can do to really up level. Yeah. And you don't know until you have conversations like these. You don't know.
And it's all perspective shift.
Girl.
The opportunities, like I think I was sitting in my car yesterday driving, and it'll just hit me where I'm like, there are so many opportunities in the online space to level up, to make more money, to increase your cash flow, to offer more services. Like it exists if you look at it in a different way, right? If it's not, oh, like I have this 9-to-5, this is so embarrassing. Like, no, this is beautiful. You have this 9-to-5 where you're having these stable paychecks coming in, and you can use those to get into what's next for you. Insurance, don't even get me started on health insurance. But it's all a perspective shift. Even with myself, I find myself getting into that like, I sometimes wish I still had that stability. I sometimes look, I'm like, oh, what would it look like if I did have that full-time or part-time job and run my business? Yeah. And that's also a perspective shift for me of, okay, but I am able to create my own schedule. I am able to be offline when I'm on my period, right? I am able to, as my own boss, make those decisions that to me are luxury, right? So also shifting the perspective away from just finances into what do I define as success? Because for me, success is being able to maybe sleep in on a random Tuesday because that's what my body needs, and then eat a slow breakfast and log on around 11 a.m. And maybe work for a couple hours, then take a nap. Like to me, That is luxury, right?
Yes.
So also shifting our perspectives on the other side of, okay, now I'm in this role and it feels really big and scary sometimes, but look at what I am able to do because of how I've set myself up.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Oh, so good, girl. Like, I feel like we could talk about this work for forever.
So long, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like it's this ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
It's this ongoing conversation, because even like when we're talking about routines and things like that, I'm so good in some ways, and then in other ways, like my morning routine and my nighttime routine, like they kind of go out the window. Sometimes I'm really, really diligent with them. And other times they're just like non-existent. And so it's like riding the ebb and flow, and realize that sometimes it can get messy, and you know, that's part of life.
Yeah. And especially as an entrepreneur, it can get messy, right? Like when we are trying to uphold these routines and a business, when we are trying to do both and all the time, and having to really realize like, it's okay if that routine slips, right?
Yeah.
I'm someone like, you know this, I am like, I have my morning routine, like I wake up, I work out, I do all my things, and then I start my day. There are days that I don't do that, and my first thoughts to this day is guilt, to this day, right? Because I'm like, I have to run the business and be the wellness queen and like do all the things. And then it's like, ooh, we have to, like, I'm still unlearning that of like, all the cups don't have to be filled at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can be showing up for my body really well this week, and that's what's going to nourish me. I can be going all in on my business that next week because I already feel really good in my body.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to nourish me. So also going with that flow that is ever present. It's never going to be every single day is perfect and every category. I mean, I think about like mothers all the time, like moms who have full-time jobs and a business and a family, and I'm just like, you are a superhero.
I know.
You are a superhero.
Yeah.
Because here I am with just my 5-pound dog Bentley, and I'm like beating myself up for, you know, skipping my workout.
Yeah.
And it's like these women are raising a whole kid. That's, again, another story.
I know.
But it is just so amazing to me, and also even more so where we need that reminder of like, it's okay to have fluidity.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I feel like these practices now support us in, like, that's what I think about, like, my future family. Like, me setting this foundation for myself now is an opportunity for me to get my reps in.
Yeah.
And so when we do have a family and, like, we're up all night and, like, all these different things, I'm like, okay, I have these tools that feel ingrained, not like oh, what's that thing I used to do? Like, it's more of a response.
Yeah, exactly. And also, well, a big thing with you is seasonality, right? How do we honor the seasons? And I have been doing a lot of work with that in business, with myself, with my clients of, listen, winter, you might not feel like showing up on Instagram Live 3 times a week because it's dark and it's cold and the days are short. How can you honor that? How can you take that break? How can you shift your schedule? Look at your CEO schedule. Maybe we take Mondays off and that's your rest day now, right? How can we shift? Whereas in summer, maybe you're thriving, you feel good, energy is higher, days are longer. Content creation, great option. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So also when we're looking at our routines, not just looking at the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but the seasons of how we're showing up in our business and being okay when things are slower.
Yeah. It gives us permission.
Yeah. Nature does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
If that tree can take a break and let the dead leaves go, then so can I. And rest and nurture and then be ready for the start of a new cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I feel like me allowing space for that has really shifted how I experience life, and also to the compassion that I have more for myself on a day-to-day basis, as well as like I was moving through the year, through the seasons. it's I think it's just another perspective.
It really
right?
is.
On how we can choose to live our lives.
It really is. It's all perspective and giving ourselves permission to honor our bodies. Like, oh my goodness, even if we think about, like, we talk about cycle syncing often, right? And how women, like, we just push through, especially in the corporate world, like, just push through day after day after day at the same 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., like, no consideration of what's going on with your cycle.
Yep.
And so I think another thing with us as business owners is that gift to slow down when we need to, the gift to speed up when we have the energy to, and to really flow not only with the seasonality, but with our own personal cycles. And that's something that I think is just beautiful. Again, like, to me, I'm like, cycle syncing is also luxury.
Yeah.
Like,
that
you
is
know,
true.
like, it really is one of those things when I think about success is like being able to follow my body's natural rhythm, because that's not something women have the ability to do in typical day to day.
Yep. And in case anyone was wondering, she really lives by this. As we were scheduling this podcast, Kayla was like, we were going to schedule another date, I think yesterday. You're like, let me check my app. Let me see where I'm at. And I was like, that's something that I haven't even thought of doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm usually like just looking at my calendar. Am I free?
Yeah.
I never look at like, like where it's my energy. You know, I just don't think about those things. And so it, like, just be working with you, even just in those little small things that you do, it's so deeply embodied. It reminds me ways that I can take care of myself even more fully.
Yeah. It's so important to me because it's like, I have to be fully present in order to perform how I need to perform. I'm a generator. I'm like, I gotta follow like where my joy is. I gotta follow that intuition. And so for me, my cycle is extremely impacted. Like, I knew, I was like, even just the 1 day difference, I was like, if we record on day 3 and not on day 4, I'm not going to be as energetic. Right? So I always look, and that goes into business as well. Like, if I'm doing any sort of masterclass, I'm looking at that calendar. That masterclass got to be around ovulation, like 100%. If I am doing any retreats or anything larger, whereas when I have more like behind the scenes work, that can be done at any time. And so there's just things, and I work with that on my clients as well. If they're curious about it, I'm always like, okay, let's look at this, and like I can teach them how to do that as well.
I love that. We gotta add that to our to-do list.
We'll get into it. I love cycle syncing. I truly believe in it, because as women, like, we are not built to just have this 24/7 cycle. We are built to slow down and speed up and respect when we need to take a moment and then have that energy and honor it when it's there. So that is like so deeply ingrained into my business, which I am so grateful for.
Just all these pillars in which wellness is a huge part of not only your lifestyle, but the work that you do. And I am really grateful for you, because even me as a yoga teacher and sound meditation, right? It's made me realize there's an opportunity for me to have even more embodiment in the work that I'm doing. I love that.
I love that.
You know, I'm always fangirling with you, like, after every call. I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. But truly,
you're a treat.
I really, really appreciate you.
I'm equally as inspired by you, like watching you embody and live in the practices that you provide to everyone. So the feeling is like so mutual, and that's why I feel like we're just like dream team over
I
here.
know, right?
Like the wellness dream team. We got the strategy, we got the modalities, like you can do the events, I can be behind the scenes, like we really got it down. I just love that for us so much.
And it's a reminder of how important community is, because we cannot do it by ourselves. That's like been one of my like reoccurring aha moments. It's like we can't do it by ourselves, and so reaching out, leaning on others that can support us so that we can align to attract.
Quite literally. And being open, right? Opening our hearts to our communities. That's also something that has been on my heart a lot lately is how can I be more transparent? You know, I'm already keeping it real on Instagram. How can I be even more transparent with my community? Because there's so much power in sharing what you're going through. In the moment, not when you got over it, like we said, not the end, but the middle, actually sharing it. And it's not always rainbows and butterflies in entrepreneurship. So how can I open my heart to my community? And it deepens connections every single time.
It does.
It really does. It makes people feel heard and seen and loved. And at the end of the day, if I can make one person in my community feel more seen than they woke up feeling, that's all I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh, so good. So where can people connect with you, Kayla, and just like soak in some of these goodies that you have, all of these goodies?
Absolutely. Okay, so Instagram and TikTok are Kay Countryman, Kay Countryman. I'm not on TikTok as much as I would like to be, but you can find me on Instagram and I will be there. As far as how to work with me, if you want to be like Tiff and get into my client roster, I would love to have you. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a group program called Align to Attract Academy that will be opening for enrollment this fall. And then most recently, I am launching my first ever self-paced course called Grounded. And if you enjoyed this conversation today, Grounded is for you. It is for new, aspiring, and pivoting entrepreneurs who need support in that brand strategy and mindset. So it is really the most beautiful hybrid of finding out who do you want to work with, what do you want to provide, what is your purpose, what is your why, and then how can you overcome those obstacles that come up naturally in entrepreneurship. So that will be launching at the end of the month, and I'm doing a special code for my girls here, for everyone who's listening. You can use the code BeYouTooFull, Tiff's podcast name, BeYouTooFull, all caps, for $100 off.
Ah. So good. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
And sharing all these gems as well, girl. So grateful.
Happy to be here.
Grateful.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, love.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey, and if you want to follow me throughout my LA adventures, check me out at Curl Crush Yoga on Instagram.